And now we'll welcome Mr. Weston Martinez.
Well, howdy, how are y'all? Sorry, I had to take a call from my wife and 5 children who called and said, honey, the air conditioner downstairs is making a big loud noise. I said, turn it off. I'll call a good friend of mine. He'll be there in just a little bit. So, I don't know if I was supposed to be last, but I was supposed to be right before bed. But, I tell you what, when we look at Texas and we look at what's taking place, we're at a crossroads. Randy Creighton, God bless him, great hog hunter that he is. Right now, his Senate district getting gutted. As Republicans, we should be embarrassed at what's taking place in redistricting. We're doing everything that we accuse the left of doing to us and to themselves. You look at his counties, and he had one of his most conservative counties gutted into a 5-way split. Now, I'm tired of politicians that tell us one thing when they want us to vote for them and do something else when they want to run for office. It's disgusting. And I'm sorry to start off with that, but enough is enough. We're not going to get out of this hole in the United States unless we can get out of this hole here in the state of Texas. And I guarantee you, each and every one of us that vote on election day, because we don't trust the rest of the votes for other times, we know. We know about the corruption. We know about voter fraud. We know about all kinds of things. A lot of us don't want to talk about it. We have to be better than the other team. Whataburger doesn't make it right by changing the strawberry shake when you're in Beaumont versus when you're in El Paso. Okay? We don't win by moderating our message. We don't win by being the last one to sign on to votes. We don't win by pushing legislation that benefits our friends and our colleagues. No, we don't win like that. We win by doing it better than everybody else. Folks, there's nothing general about the General Land Office. Thank you for the description. I will tell you that it was formed by the Republic of Texas, and I was with Sarah Huckabee yesterday in Frisco, and I told her that not only was it formed by the Republic of Texas, but part of the purpose of the General Land Office was to actually go out there and encourage people to move across the state of Texas. And then the revenue that's generated from this, quote, Fortune 500 company was used to fund the Republic of Texas and our war to protect and defend ourselves. I would have never thought that we'd be here this year, this day, asking ourselves, do we stay or do we go? Now I will tell you, we're not going to leave the northern 48 because the only shot that America has is a place called Texas. And the only shot we have is for people like you, Ben, Kevin, sacrificing time away from your team, running for office, helping a candidate for office. John and his wife, you think they got better things to do? Dawn, she's busy. We have to be better than everybody else because there's no one else to do it. There is not another Texas. Texas is the first and last line of defense for the United States of America. Does anybody know that? We bring the traveling border wall, and people thought, oh, that's a hokey thing. Folks, we went to the border, and we've been down there a bunch. I'm from the Alamo City. I appreciate everybody supporting and helping to defend the Alamo. Timeline, 6 year ago, I was out there talking about the reimagined plans. And guess what I got from people that you would know if I said their name? Somebody else is going to have to fight to defend the Alamo. I'm busy with this, and this. That's a shame. And here I thought, Lord, really? William Travis spoke Spanish, but his last name wasn't Martinez and he wasn't in San Antonio. What in the world is going on? And God sent some help. God sent some help, like there's a big group called This Is Texas Freedom Force. There's some folks, Texas National Movement, TNM. There's some other folks that came down. And then there were some folks that testified during our stay at the Texas Historic Commission. And there was some legislation that helped do some of that. Last legislative session, we're not going to do an auction, although I'll tell you, Steve Miller, one of my statewide endorsements, he and I actually auctioned off a bull, a longhorn, a cowboy hat, and a picture of Trump right before Trump spoke at CPAC. And we raised $75,000 in 4.5 minutes, and it was like, riding lightning. It was fun. But when we look at what's taking place, we have so much at stake. And when we look at what the General Land Office does, it doesn't matter what we're talking about. The Alamo. The liberals want to tear down the Citadel. They want to put up a wall around the Alamo because it is the cradle of liberty, and it is repulsive to them. Go check. When I was going around the state talking about it, do you know who created the overall agenda for the Alamo? A guy named Julian Castro. His mother said that the defenders of the Alamo were nothing more than rapists and drunks. Really? Not on my watch. I'm just a little old guy from San Antonio. Only silver spoons I got are the ones that I bought. No political pedigree. But I joke with people that I'm a Mexican, not a Mexican. I'll get that later. We're Texans first. And we're only Hispanics because God knows that when you have people that come to the United States of America the right way, like my family did, it's because they don't want to go back to where they were, let alone letting these states turn into a third world country. I generally tell people that I just drove in from Sodom and Gomorrah, and also known as San Antonio, or otherwise known as Bexar County, where most Republicans there would be Democrats anywhere else in the state of Texas. Joe Strauss was from Bexar County. I was the only guy on the Republican Party of Texas that endorsed against Joe Strauss when he was Speaker and when he was a state representative. And it's kind of like the Alamo. I wasn't looking for a job. I was just doing what I thought was right. I'm pro-life, pro-gun, pro-family, pro-Israel, most importantly, I'm pro-Texas. And I bet you some of y'all that way too. And that is the kind of ideals and principles that move us forward. Now, some of that has nothing to do with the General Land Office job. But in today's environment, where TikTok and Twitter and all these other social media platforms can slice and dice what people say, I mean, just look at the border patrol, the Mountain Border Patrol. Go look at my Facebook page, and you can see the picture that the media put out, where it looks like he's whipping the Haitian. And then the backside of the picture, where all it is split reins, and he ain't doing nothing. I went to college on a bull riding scholarship. I didn't lose all my marbles. But I will tell you, common sense will tell you that the media wants to destroy our country. How many of you know Al Sharpton was down at the border the other day? Well, I was part of the group that went over there to call Al Sharpton out. I was from here to there. His press advance team came out, and they got there when we were about to start, so I was like, hey, we'll let this guy go first. And so I handed her my press release that I had put out, and the press release talks about how we, as Texans, can actually file complaints with the Department of Public Safety to take illegal aliens off the road and bus operators off the road. That's not a new law. That's a law that's been on the books for years. Have you heard any politician talking about that? No. Why? I don't know. Just a bull rider. Kind of a simple question. You go look at DPS regulations, they talk about agents that have viral and bacterial infections. They list out Ebola. I don't identify as a female or a doctor or a lawyer, so talk to the doctors about that. And check it out, because all of the characteristics are exactly the same symptoms that list with COVID. So guess what happens? When you're hauling an unsecured load, it qualifies as a hazmat load. How many of y'all driven behind an oil tanker? You ever notice the little signs on the back? That's because those commercial driver's license holders are required to have a hazmat certification, and they're also required for that rig to be hazmat certified. Guess what the fine is for every unsecured viral biological agent? $87,449. We just rounded up to $9,000 per head. So whether it's an illegal alien that came from whatever country, or it's a cow with mad cow disease, or it's a plant that has some kind of bacteria on it, that is the fine. So I handed that to the lady with Sharpton. I don't want to call him Reverend because I think he's honestly doing the devil's work. And they had two of the biggest guys that I ever seen come stand in front of me. I'm only 5'8". I do have a full head of hair. I don't wear the hat to cover up hair. But they came in and stood in front of me. And if you look at Breitbart and some of the other ones, you'll see me right here just kind of doing this when he's talking. And then when they leave, one of my supporters was there, and the last shot was a little SUV with Weston for Land Commission written on it with, paint like they have car lots, which is kind of cute and very nice. It's good to have supporters across the state. But Reverend Sharpton is the biggest race baiter in the United States of America. They want our country to be at war. They don't care about our sovereignty. I personally believe that Joe Biden wants to declare martial law. I'll show you all this afterwards. These right here, these are Haitian IDs from Chile, Chilean IDs with Haitian nationals on there, and they get to the border, and guess what they do? And then they cross over the border, and they say, we just got here from Haiti. Please give us asylum. Folks, you can't make this stuff up. So when we talk about securing the border, and I've consistently talked about securing the border because the land office has revenue that's not committed in all ways. So we can actually fund building the wall. How about that? Now I'll tell you, being in the infrastructure business and being in the utility world, you're not going to tell me a wall's going to cost me $14 million a mile. Ain't going to happen. But one of the other things that we can do is take the Rio Grande River, turn it into the Mississippi. You ever seen anybody swim in the Mississippi? Like I said, college on a bull ride scholarship. I'm not a road scholar, unless you spell it ROAD with all the miles we drive. And there are things that we can do and weaponize that office to protect us. Look, as land commissioner, not only are we going to bring innovation to this office, but we're going to bring concrete solutions. I've already talked to folks about how it's possible to take the Rio Grande River and increase the level of water that it's currently in so that we can have an increased economy down on the border. And guess what else we'll do? Accidentally. We'll actually slow down human trafficking. We'll slow down sex trafficking. We'll slow down border crossings that are illegal. Why is that? Because again, have you ever seen anybody swim in Mississippi? No, not at all. As we move forward, I will tell you that not only as land commissioner are we responsible for keeping the BLM out of Texas, that's the Bureau of Land Management, not the Black Lives Matter, although we should keep them both the hell out of Texas. You know, the thing we had in North Texas, you know why it happened? Because a surveyor from the Land Commission the Land Commission actually had let a survey expire, and the federal government didn't know if it was state land or federal land. So they came in there and they basically had a big old standoff. Terrible. Terrible. Crystal Beach, the peninsula. What are we going to do? You know, we've got to make sure that we're protecting our Texas beaches, protecting our coastlines. When we look at Crystal Beach, I think a great idea is to take I-10. How many of y'all know it floods at I-10? And then the water doesn't leave? Anybody know that? Guess what? Whether you live in Winnie or Chambers County as a whole, what if we just took, everybody likes walls, right? What if we just took a concrete wall, we've already got a footer, it's called a highway, and just put a 12-foot barrier right there? Can you imagine how much money that would save and how we would protect the peninsula? Y'all live here. Y'all know what I'm talking about. It's good common sense. Before I was running for this office, I created a bill to make human trafficking a death penalty offense. Before I was running for this office, I created a bill that made voter fraud a felony in Texas. I'm not a legislator. Never been a legislator. I was a statewide commissioner, and I'm the only one in this race that was a statewide commissioner for almost 7 years. And I can tell you, the job of being a commissioner is not the same thing as being in the pink dome. You've got to make sure that you understand legislative directive and how you put that out on the street. Yes, you're required to manage the state of Texas land so that you can generate revenue to fund public education and fund the Veterans Affairs benefits. But do you realize you're on the redistricting committee if the legislature can't get it done? How many know that? Do you know that you sit with 3 other people to actually do leases associated with Texas Parks and Wildlife, associated with the Crim system? Beaches. How many of y'all know that Galveston Beach is eroded over time? Nobody wants to talk about that. Remember how it used to be? How you used to be able to see the stuff that was out there? Through the land office, we can actually do things to help build those back up. And I'll tell you just in closing, before I was running for this office, not only did I create those bills and then went shopping for legislators to sponsor them, they died at the 12th hour in our beloved Texas legislature. And it was then at the time that I thought, we just got beat. I didn't realize until several years later, people were just playing footsies under the table. Before I was running for this office, I retired from Southwestern Bell AT&T as an outside plant design engineering supervisor. While I was there, I started the recall election against Julian Castro, the liberal mayor from San Antonio, did the bathroom bill. I helped my friend Jonathan Sines and other folks defeat the HERO ordinance here in Houston proper. Heather was gonna, she was gonna have her husband arrest me on the way back. And I had my own oil and gas service company, signed a MSA with one of the majors to provide all the water over in the Eagleford Shale. Know a little bit about water? Lease over 300,000 acres of land rights. And not only that, have been endorsed by Ag Commissioner Sid Miller, Sheriff Joe Arpaio from Arizona. We were at the border. Arpaio's endorsing me. We're doing a video, haven't released it yet. And I turn around and look, and there's 3 illegal aliens swimming in the river right there. God is my witness. A cartel guy, all tatted up. 2 ladies, one had a baby and a black bag on her shoulder, and the other lady just had a black bag. And I said, "Hey, get back!" And those that were there started yelling. And he's like, "Shh, shh, shh." I'm like, "To hell with you! Get back!" And we were like 80 yards away, so I couldn't just jump in the water and do anything. The guy comes over, and the border patrol comes, and guess what they come in on? Big old fan boat. You know how much water you need for a fan boat? The river needs to be a little deeper. We need to have folks that are serving at the land office that allows us to put people over politics. Yes, we have veterans nursing homes that had twice the death rate of any other nursing homes in the United States of America. Now we have oversight over those. It's a very complex situation. But guess what? Those same operators of those nursing homes operate other nursing homes in Texas. They didn't have that many problems. We have a system right now that has stale bureaucracy and mediocrity, and that's exactly what Trump fought. Anybody know who Cross Veritas is? So I'm the one that worked with them to get that lady arrested in Bexar County for all voter fraud. They told me that Dan Patrick should pay me the $1 million bounty that he put out there because without me telling them how to get there, they wouldn't have been able to put the undercover guy with the camera in the spot to get it done. So I'm gonna reach out to Dan, tell him I need to check. And we're going to make sure that as we move forward in this office, that we're going to put people first, put Texas first, and ensure that we protect the first and last line of defense for these United States of America. I'm Weston Martinez. Thank you all for being here. God bless each and every one of you.